Being a candidate for the Liberal Party of Canada with Mark Carney and a great team of candidates is the only way now to work for my beliefs, my values, and my country. So it is with a lot of pride and strong emotion, as you can see.
An emotional activist. Great. Just what we need in government. You know, there used to be a time where we would nominate people for government based on what they had to offer, what they brought to the table. You know, maybe it's a skill, maybe it's an education, maybe it's a specific experience that they have in something, you know, education, law enforcement, heavy industry, international trade, healthcare, something like that. You know, somebody that has done something with their life and has a unique perspective on it. Um, Even if it's a person who has devoted their life to public service, maybe all they've done is work in government, you know, that's something as well. Maybe they started out, you know, in municipal and went to provincial and then federal and, you know, have never had a so-called real job in their life. Uh, but that also brings a perspective and a skill set, being familiar with the political world and how things are done and how the politicians interact with the bureaucracy of it all. Um, there's a lot of bureaucrats, you know, they think they run the show. So you usually bring somebody into government that is going to add something, not just to sit there in a seat and say aye when a vote comes up. Unfortunately, that's the case here. The Carney has brought in this Nathalie Provost, who is a survivor of the 1989 massacre in Montreal, the École Polytechnique de Montréal school shooting where 14 women needlessly were gunned down by a psychotic piece of garbage. 14 young women whose lives were just starting had their lives pulled right out from underneath of them. Another 10 more women were injured, and another 4 men were injured. And this Nathalie Provost has made it her life's work to absolutely demonize all Canadians who are licensed and legal firearms owners. Whether they're a hunter, a collector, or a sport shooter, it doesn't matter. To her, if you own a firearm, you're evil. And you need to have your property taken from you against your will. You need to have your hard-earned private property that you legally acquired, entire collections built up over 5, 10, 20, 30 years, collections that may have been passed down from great-great-grandfather to grandfather to great-grandfather, etc. Firearms that don't exist anymore anywhere in the world, that you may only have the last one in existence. Doesn't matter. They need to be taken from you and they need to be destroyed. Or, I can't believe I'm saying this, sent to the Ukraine so they can use them in the front lines in the battlefield, because I'm sure every soldier is just like, you know, anticipating being handed a nice shiny 20 rifle chambered in 22 long. Yeah, you're gonna do. I mean, if you're hunting rabbits on the battlefield, sure, I guess, but isn't gonna do squat for any other purpose. But these are the firearms that the government here, the Liberals, think would be a good idea. Let's round up all these civilian firearms built to civilian specs and send them to war. Send them to a battlefield. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Good job, guys. Just because something looks similar to something else doesn't mean that it is. right? I mean, it's the mentality is just, it blows my mind. But I want you to listen to a little more here. So this provo, she's just a piece of work. And I'll say more about her after this here.
The last 15 years as an
15.
activist have brought me to where I am today,
Yeah.
in front of you.
Yeah, that's what you get rewarded
On the
with.
last December 5th, the day before the 35th anniversary of the
She's been
Polytechnique
non-stop.
femicide, the Liberal
She
government
says 15
announced
years,
several
it's
measures
more like
that have
30,
been implemented
35.
or are being implemented to ban assault-style
She's
firearms.
almost single-handedly
Military
military
weapons
weapons,
designed to kill in war zones shouldn't be accessible in our communities.
and they're not.
For me, this meant that my advocacy work and my commitment to gun control led to concrete results. Et c'est pour agir que je m'engage aux côtés de Bill Blair, de Dominique Leblanc.
So she rambles on there in French, talking about all the losers and traitors in the Liberal government that have backed her up and have basically carried water for her and her propaganda BS about and fear-mongering how every licensed gun owner in Canada is a ticking time bomb just waiting to... Because that's basically her concern. I mean, these weapons designed for the battlefield, they're not. None of the guns that people, have are modern, designed for the modern battlefield. They're just not. Yes, they look the same, but they're not. They, the vast majority of parts aren't even interchangeable between the military spec version and the civilian spec version, because the firing mechanisms are completely different. So you can't just simply swap parts around. You have to replace entire chunks of the gun, parts that we cannot buy. They're not legal. It's as simple as that. Everything already exists. We have a plethora of laws on the books already that the Liberals have chosen not to enforce. The police try, from coast to coast to coast, the police try their damnedest to take guns off the street and out of the hands of gangbangers. And they try to get gangbangers locked up. They do their investigations, they cross all their T's, they dot all their I's. And then what happens? One of two things. The Crown declines to proceed with the charges because they just don't feel that they would be able to win. Sorry, one of three things. The person goes to court, but then the judge feels bad for them because they had a little bit of a bad upbringing, or one person that they knew another person that went to some really bad evil school, and because of that now they have generational trauma and they can't be held responsible, so off you go. Or there's such a backup in our court system because Trudeau declined to appoint enough judges. He just, there are dozens of empty slots that he never filled because why bother? So the statute of limitations runs out and they just walk, no matter what the crime. They don't get to sit in front of a judge within a couple of years without a reasonable cause. Then off they go with apologies from the judge. So, I mean, if you want to combat gun violence, and I do, I absolutely do, it affects me. I live in not a very good neighborhood. It's a lot better than it used to be, but it's still not a very good neighborhood. It's not uncommon. It's been pretty quiet lately, but it's not uncommon for us to have shootings here. It's something that you get used to rather quickly when you live here. And that shouldn't be. Lots of young kids running around here, lots of schools, lots of young families. There should be none of this garbage here. There should nobody should be afraid to walk the streets no matter what time of day or night it is. They shouldn't have to worry about getting shot by a stray bullet, but that's the reality now. It never used to be like this. It never used to be like this. But the last 10 years, under the reign of terror of the Trudeau Liberals and now the Carney Liberals, I don't know, you call them the Trudeau-Carney Liberals or the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, it's all the same pie. I mean, the Carney's been there since at least 2019 as an economic and policy advisor, the senior policy advisor to Junior. So, I mean, it's one and the same. The fact that the Carney is out front now changes nothing. It's all the same. The only thing is now he's brought in this psychotic woman, like I said, who's made it her life's sole ambition to destroy the lives of every person in Canada who's legally involved with the firearms industry, whether they be a shooter, like a target shooter, or competition, hunting, or whether they're just a collector. And then all the businesses that go along with it. You know, specialties in gunsmithing, in reloading cartridges, of which obviously there's a huge deficit right now because of all the conflicts going on, especially in the Ukraine and now the last year and a half in the Middle East. And so there's a massive shortage on ammunition. We could do more of that here, but no, they're putting them all out of business. The number of firearms businesses that buy and sell firearms and ammunition and everything that have gone out of business since 2020 when numbnuts Trudeau, who was jizzing in his pants while he was like reading the OIC, like, oh, we're gonna ban AR-15s, oh, because no one needs an AR-15 to bring down a deer. Oh yeah, okay, take it, Krista. I can't go right now. I'm gonna need a few minutes. You know, like it was so disgusting. He was basically dancing on the 22 graves of those people that were murdered in cold blood in Nova Scotia, just so he could get out there and announce his little order in council, similar to an executive order in the United States. So it's basically, it gets pushed through, no debate in the House, it doesn't go to the Senate, it's just, now whatever he says is now law, period. We don't get a chance to hear from witnesses for or against, it just is. And it's BS, because it's all built on faulty foundation and illogical premises. It's completely unreasonable what they're doing, and it should have been struck down by the Supreme Court. But unfortunately, the numbnuts in our Supreme Court are just as stupid. They just released a ruling saying that they feel the government has a right and a duty to protect the citizens. I agree. However, what I don't agree with is, okay, we're going to take guns away from you that look like something that's big and scary. Case in point, some gun manufacturers, they make replicas of guns from the past, like World War II or something. They have nothing in common with them. They're not even chambered in the original cartridge. They're chambered in .22 long rifle, which is like the equivalent of a pop gun with, firearms. So there's not a single thing. The only thing in common is that they look the same on the outside. But on the inside, completely different. Completely different cartridge, different barrel, different firing mechanism, everything. These guns can never be made into fully automatic. Guess what? If you do, if you're clever enough to make it into a fully automatic, you've broken the law. Right? I mean, it's as simple as that. You're not allowed to do that. But people, gangbangers, they don't care. They'll do it anyway. You see them do this with handguns. However they modify them. And boom, now you have a rapid fire automatic handgun that zips through a 10-round magazine in like 1.3 seconds. But they don't care. They don't care if they're going to hit anything. They just want as many bullets as they can throw down target. And that's how innocent people get killed. But according to idiots like this, no. It's your honest, hardworking Canadians who just want to be left alone and go hunting with their buddies on the weekend or something so that they can go get a moose or something to keep their families fed for the winter. Or the person that's, you know, in 3-gun competitions, shooting IPSC or SAS or something, and they just go out there and it's therapeutic for them because while they're shooting, while they're competing, while they're practicing, the only thing on their mind is that. That's it. It's them and the firearm and their target. That's it. Everything else gets shut out. No matter how bad your week was or what's going on in your life for the hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is that you're at the range, all of that's gone, right? It's all gone. It's the same like anybody, you know, some like I don't anymore, but I skied for a number of years and I got similar kind of therapeutic feeling from that as well. When I was skiing, it was just me in the mountain and trying to stay alive for the most part. But the more kind of therapies that you can invest in that gets you away for even for a few minutes, like an hour or something a week, away from all the rest of the garbage in the world is a good thing. So if you have a hobby doing this, that, and the other thing, that's great. Don't take them away. We've never seen such a decline in mental health in the West as we've seen in the last decade. Not just in Canada. I mean, overall, it's just gone downhill. And shooting, target shooting, is a tremendous therapy for relaxation, for releasing stress and anxiety, for just releasing all kinds of negative energy to get that out of your system. Because, again, it's just you, your firearm, and a target. That's it. And that's all you're focused on, right? And there are so many procedures involved with shooting that for people like me also that are a little bit obsessive, it's good because there are so many steps, you know, especially if you're shooting from holster. There are so many steps that you need to take, and it's good for people like me because it gets you, it takes that, what can be a negative thing in your life, being obsessive compulsive, and turns it into a positive thing because you have somewhere now you can apply what is largely a detriment. You can now turn it into a positive for yourself. So there are a number of benefits for having firearms. And you'll notice I haven't once mentioned anything about what most people would say that they're used for, to hurt people. Because that's not what my firearms are for. That's not what they're ever going to be for. As long as I own them, my firearms are for me, for target shooting, for therapy, for stress relief, and for collecting. That's it. They're not to hurt people, ever. Ever. And I would reckon that the majority, the vast majority of firearms owners would tell you that. First and foremost, their firearms, the one thing, they may be good for a lot of things, but the one thing that they're not going to be used for is to hurt someone.